right. Well, thank you everybody for showing up. My name's Andy King. I have a company called Pinpoint Marketing, and today we're going to pull the curtain back on SEO, and we're going to have a lot of good information that we're going to disseminate and really help you in terms of what you should be doing with your SEO. So just some ground rules we're going to start with is let's keep our video turned off. Video is actually pretty much a distraction when it comes to these Zoom calls. Also too, it's the #1 reason why Zoom calls crash is because the amount of data that needs to take place with video is what causes it. We're going to save your questions to the very end of each section, okay? So each section is going to last about 5-10 minutes. And if you have a question, please type it in the chat box, but type before your question the word question. That way I can scroll up and down really quick through the chat box and I can actually see who has a question and who doesn't. And you may be commenting on a particular thing, but it may not be a question, okay? We're gonna have 2 15-minute breaks. They're gonna be spaced out here, but we will allow for time to go to the restroom, get a snack or what have you. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. As I mentioned, my name's Andy King. I have a company called Pinpoint Marketing. We do a lot of stuff. We build a lot of things. We do a lot of marketing type stuff. And today we're actually going to talk about, and very heavily, about SEO, what actual SEO works, what doesn't work, and how to avoid what I refer to as the SEO hacks out there. And there's a lot of them. And I'll show you why. And it's not because there's a lot of horrible, terrible people out there. Most of the time, it's just that they don't know or don't realize how SEO is evolving. So with most of our companies that we work with, we'll go in and we'll actually double or triple their revenues after we work with them a couple of years. It does take time. Good marketing does take time and effort, and just how it is. So with that being said, as we go into the details of this, we may not be able to dive in. You may have some questions and we may not be able to dive in to get to everything that you want to know. If that's the case, then I would suggest that you get with me and we'll do an SEO audit. And we'll just do that as a Zoom call. That's a one-on-one thing. And I will be throwing up a link here during the break of where you can actually book that SEO Zoom call with me. Okay. All right. So we're going to start a little bit with a history lesson. Usually when I'm in person and I talk about this, I talk about 1620 and I ask everybody what happens in 1620. And what actually happens is the Mayflower took place. You had about 100 people that decided to leave England and come over to here in the United States. And as they did that trip, everything that they had that was on that ship with them needed to make sure there was enough to be able to make it all the way across the ocean, 2-month voyage, and have enough for that first growing period. So the reason I talk about the Mayflower is because I think it's probably the quintessential analogy to being a business owner, being in sales, that when you get started with your business, you want to make sure, you have to make sure that you have enough supplies, enough things to get you across that big, huge ocean. That big, huge ocean is not having income for a while, right? And getting over to the new land, have enough to get through that first growing season to be able to live and survive. So it's very, very applicable. So this is how most of us look, right, with our businesses. This is a really good looking businesswoman with a really good looking business. Or is it a little bit more like this, where it more reflects a little bit more of a train wreck? And I will tell you that most days I feel more like this than I do like this. And if you guys were to say so, you'd probably say the same thing. So in 1991, I had my own train wreck. And I talk about that in a book that I wrote called Stop Selling Used Shoes at VW Bus, 3 Simple Steps to Profitable and Sustainable Marketing. Now, I'm not going to go in and talk about that. I usually do a little piece where I tell my whole story. But essentially, in 1991, I went door to door selling used shoes, mainly to women, trying to convince them to come out to my van where I would do a shoe fitting. And I actually was somewhat successful. But what ended up happening is I was so inconsistent with my revenue that it ultimately led to the business failing. So my passion, and I talk about this in my book, is revealing what I referred to as blind spots. And in business, a blind spot can be extraordinarily deadly. And the reason it's deadly is because we don't know what we don't know. And often at times, we don't even know that we don't know it. And it's very, very applicable to SEO because most people, most business owners do not know what it takes to get optimized, to be able to be found on the internet. This is a quote from John Wanamaker. He says, "Half my advertising works, I just don't know which half." This was said over 140 years ago, but it's so extraordinarily relevant to today, that the reality is that we know some of our marketing works, maybe some of our SEO works, we just don't know which parts. So the advantage is, at least from a marketing perspective, is we have 140 years of case studies, research, and best practices. With the internet, it's about 15, 20 years at the most that we kind of know what works and what doesn't work, and that's what we're going to cover today. So best practices is the best way to run your business. If you're not doing them, you're not based on research with what you're doing, you too will be living in a van down by the river. And that's kind of my punchline to my book, because ultimately when my business failed, I was living in that van with those shoes down by the river. Okay, so SEO, that's what we're talking about today. SEO stands for search engine optimization. It is the process of getting traffic from the internet for free, organic, editorial, or natural search results on search engines, okay? Most of us probably know what it is, but essentially it's whatever information that you have up on the internet to help you get found, okay? So we're gonna talk about a little bit about the origins of the internet. And no, it wasn't Al Gore. Al Gore did not invent the internet. It was an actual 1960s, the military used this system to be able to have missiles talking to other missiles. Essentially, the nuclear age was what kind of brought it into existence, because as our country was concerned with Russia, and if there was any kind of nuclear war that was to break out, they wanted to make sure that they were able to launch all of our nukes at the same time. So what they started referring to as far as the internet was concerned is the international network. So internet is short for international network. So it's kind of an interesting thing. So as the benefits of this international network, where people could talk to one another through computers, became more and more popular, other people started to take notice of it. And it was really the academics. Academia runs the internet. If you go into Google, everybody in Google has a PhD. A lot of them have multiple PhDs at many different levels. And that's how internet is ran. It's all ran by what many would define as the smartest people in the world. So there's a good picture. If you ever seen the movie War Games, that Shall We Play a Game? That was the internet talking to Matthew Broderick. That's the very early essence of what the internet was. Okay, so 12 years ago, I had some impressions about SEO, and I'm going to tell you about them. And because I was able to watch a company called Overstock.com, which at one point was actually bigger than both Amazon and eBay. I'm not exactly sure where they kind of lost themselves, but they were actually bigger, if you can believe that. And I knew the owners of Overstock.com kind of from a distance, and I watched them after they sold out. They were the original developers of Overstock.com. They sold out. They made millions of dollars. And I watched them become what is referred to in the industry. And it's not so much, we don't hear about super affiliates much anymore, but back in the 2000s, early 2000s, 2005, 2010. It was really, really big business. It was everything that you could do to become a super affiliate. There were guys out there teaching you how to become a super affiliate and how to make money. And so what a super affiliate is there's somebody that actually takes a product and they write about that product and they build websites. These guys that I knew with Overstock.com would actually build a consumer review-like website. Now, when I say consumer review, I'm not talking about online reviews, separate thing. I'm talking about the Consumer Review magazine. Most of us remember when we were growing up as kids, where you could flip through the pages and look at different cars that you might want to buy, or what's the best fax machine to buy, or the best couch to buy. That's what they would try to do, is they would try to emulate a website that would look like it was consumer review type, and it would review actually 4 or 5 different treadmills, except the best treadmill was the NordicTrack treadmill. And every time a consumer would go in there and actually click on that treadmill and go through over to NordicTrack, they could track the link, the traffic going back and forth. And if that consumer bought that NordicTrack treadmill, they would make $200. So they would actually go in there, they would build these websites, and they had a room of like 15, 20 college kids, and all they would do is post backlinks, post on social media. They would go in and to get themselves listed on various directories, and they would do all this stuff that would be taking place on the internet. And they would build this thing up, this website, to the point where they would start getting 1,000 NordicTrack units sold a month. So these guys started making $200,000 a month, a lot of money. Except for them, it really wasn't, because these guys are worth millions of dollars. So they're just kind of doing this on the side, trying to figure out if they can create something that can make, millions of dollars like they did with Overstock.com. Well, what ended up happening is this guy who actually ran this little boiler room, if we could call it that, I would see him at networking events about every 3-4 months, and would notice that he would have kind of this disgruntled, upsetting look on his face. And I'd say, "Hey, Dan, what's wrong?" And he'd say, "Well, Google just changed their algorithm, and everything that we've done up to this point not only doesn't work, it actually, we're being penalized against us." And so it was a real problem, because about every 2-3 months, they ramp this thing up, start making a lot of money, and then like 30 days later, it would get destroyed. So what was happening? What were they doing? Well, the problem is that Google was evolving, and they were always trying to stay ahead of Google. And this is what happened initially with the internet. The internet initially was very technical SEO and link building, meaning that you have a series of check boxes of items that you need to do to be able to get your website, get your thing on the internet optimized so it is considered the authoritative, the most relevant thing. And that would essentially take you up to #1 in Google. So somebody searches for something, you show up. What's happening is that it's moving to more of an organic and content driven. The problem is there's way too many people that are still stuck in this technical SEO and link building paradigm, but that's not how the internet works. Google has an army of PhDs. There is nobody on the face of the earth that's ever going to be able to outthink them or outmaneuver them. The reason I say that is that most SEO is almost designed to do that you are trying to find a loophole. Like you are a dog fenced in, and you're trying to dig under the fence, and you're trying to find that weak spot. That's what these guys were doing. These Overstock.com guys were doing back in 2008. That's when we were really coming out of this technical SEO link building period and heading into this, making it more organic. Okay. So here we go. What to do. Now I'm going to get kind of harsh here, because I'm going to tell you that this guy right here that you see with the sunglasses and the Rolex watch, I'm not exactly sure that's a Rolex. I don't think it is, but looking all really cool and all, this is the guy you want to avoid. This is the SEO hack, as I call him. This is the guy that's going to tell you he can get you to #1 on Google. This is the guy that tells you that he understands how SEO works, okay? This is the guy you want to avoid. So I'm going to play a video here, but let me get one thing set up here to make sure that you guys can actually hear the video. So, well, let me play this and see if this works.
Hey guys, Chris Fix here, and today I'm going to teach you how to change the blinker fluid.
Can you guys hear that? Working, okay, exactly what works. But we are going to talk about what works today. So anyway, avoid this guy, or otherwise it's going to be another train wreck. You know, we want to avoid that, okay? All right, so we're going to get into it. There's two major components of SEO. There's on page and there's off page. So what we're going to go do right now is we're going to go through each one of these, all right? And after each one of them, I'm going to allow for questions because you're probably going to have questions about it. And then once we get through this section right here, we're going to go ahead and have our break, all right? On-page SEO, okay? So on-page SEO is the coding on a website, all right? So the question is where is that coding? And we're going to get to that here in a second. So the first piece on-page SEO is the title tag, all right? This right here, how to use iPhone home screen widgets in iOS 14, 9 to 5 Mac, that is the title tag, all right? It says widgets right here. I searched for it. Here's what came up. This piece right here in an actual snippet is what it's referred to on the internet as you Google for something. That is the title tag. This piece right here is actually encoded into the website. It's the piece that Google's going to show on the behalf of your website. So if you click through, you'll be able to see that, okay? 60 characters in length. You cannot have a title tag that's more than 60 characters. And characters are letters, they're spaces, they're anything that takes up 60 characters, okay? Meta description. These below the title tag are the meta descriptions. This is where you go in and you have a little bit more information within the snippet. 160 characters. This piece right here is not so much an optimization piece, optimization meaning that helping Google index you. This is the piece that you want to use to help make the sale. So when the consumer's looking at your website, if it pops up on a search, this piece right here is coding that helps you really get optimized. This piece right here helps you make the sale. Users can move widgets across their home screen panels and if supported, resize them to tailor the amount of information within a widget to their . They ran out of characters at 160. It is best to complete your sentence on that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you one of our clients. I did get permission from John Blansbaum with the Flooring Nerd and show you his actual coding on his website. So I'm going to go, this is the back end of a WordPress website. And these are the pages within his website, all right? So it displays it really nicely, title tag, meta description. So for each of his pages, this is not a page right here. And this is not a page. Well, it is private policy, but we don't need to do a title tag or a meta description. Hardwood, carpet, laminate, vinyl, plank, and tile flooring. So if we go into this particular page right here, and we scroll down, we are looking at it. There's 58 of 60 characters that are being used. And so often the mistake that a lot of people make when they're actually doing title tags is to put the name of their company in there. You don't need to do that, especially if you've got the name of your company in your URL, which Flooring Nerd does. It's flooringnerd.com. There's no need to keep repeating the name of your company, okay? So here's how the snippets it looks on the internet. Hardwood, carpet, laminate, vinyl planking, tile flooring. What we're after here is to get the consumer matched up with the products and services that Flooring Nerd sells. Okay, it's pretty obvious, but we don't need to go in there and say a bunch of times about Flooring Nerd. We don't need to necessarily go in there and talk about, you know, that he's in the Woodlands or he's in Houston or all of that other stuff. And the big reason why is that all internet searches are local anyway. Back in 97, 98, when the internet was just on, if you were a flooring company and you had a lot of information about your company on your website, you could pick up a California flooring company here in Texas. Today, you will never see that because it's all local, okay? So here we are the solution. This is the meta description right here. We are the solution to all your flooring needs in the Woodlands in the greater Houston area. That's where we are going to talk about the area. Please reach out to us so we can stop by with our mobile showroom. Now notice, okay, we're 160 of 160 characters. We made it exactly. And it took a bit of time to really program this and do this right and using different words and different tricks on that. So if we go back here to the pages, I'm going to click on a couple other ones and kind of show you some of the other things that we've done that really helps them. This is their free estimate page right here. Okay, same thing, 60 of 60 characters. Sometimes you don't even need the period. That makes it 59 characters. It doesn't matter. Punctuation isn't all that important. Here, write this little character right here. This is called an M dash. That's E-M-D-A-S-H, okay? Most of what people are doing is they do space and they do the minus sign and they do space, okay? Takes up 2 extra additional characters. If we delete that and we hit Shift, Option, minus sign, and magically an M dash pops up. I believe that's pretty universal with most computers. I'm on Mac. But that is a great way to do that. If you need other space, a lot of times you can come in and you could take the and you can add the and %. Google is able to see and identify that an and % sign is the same thing as and. What you're wanting to do is to get the most amount of information, obviously, within the character limits. Just by doing that, now we're at 154. Now we don't need to do that. I'm happy with where he's at with that. So we're at 156. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay. So with that being said, let me go ahead. Let me pull this up here. All right, let's open up to questions. So do we have any questions on any of this? And you can ask about back end of the website. Okay, so question is and if you would, put question in front of your question moving forward. But Keith Shapiro has a question about which plugin is that? And that is not necessarily a plugin. That's actually a builder that is being used through Oxygen, which is a builder, okay? But I do believe on SEO, this is the plugin that we're using. So if we come in here, we go into plugins right here. We're going to click on this. SEO Yoast is probably the most commonly used plugin out there, but there's a million of them out there. Most of your WordPress builders will have something of an SEO plugin in there. So SEO Press Pro looks like what we're using on this website. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. Those 2 pieces that I just covered, your title tag. Okay, John Garrett has a question. All right, so go ahead and enter your question. Natalie has a question. Do you know if I have access to this on Shopify? Yes, you will. They have an SEO section, and actually Shopify actually has that set up pretty good. Okay, so John says he has a long question. All right, John, go ahead and let's unmute you and you just ask it. We're not going to sit here and wait for you to ask it. Are you there, John?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to. Yeah. So there used to be a where you would actually put like tags and things like in the text on the web page, like whether, sometimes there's like hidden text.
Yeah.
Does that, I mean, do you remember that?
Well, okay. And we're going to get into some other things, right?
Okay.
We're going to get into some headlines, how they work, and some other things. But there's a lot of meta tags, and that's what they're referred to. Even
Yeah.
though we call a title tag, it's still a meta tag, and it falls underneath that. There's just, there's image tags. There's all sorts of different tags. What I'm showing you guys here is the most impactful, the most important things that are going to give you the best bang for the buck.
Gotcha.
Because you can just get completely overwhelmed and inundated with all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And so really the reality is that I'm going to show you the most important things to have in place. But a lot of these other things, and like I said, it's unlimited. These things aren't going to give you much of a bang for the buck because a lot of these things are being used more on a national level. Now, when I said that all searches are local, we do have a lot of national companies, mortgage companies that are national. They will show up in a local search. Home Depot is a national company, but also it's a local company, but they're doing stuff on their website that helps them get optimized on a national level. So for the sake of the purposes of what we're going over, we're all small businesses here, and we need to appeal to the local market and remain that small business. And we don't need to worry about a lot. It'd be like trying to take out an ad on the Super Bowl. It doesn't make sense for my business or any of your businesses to do that. So that help? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, so let's see where we're at. Next person. Let's see, Mike Miguel. Okay, Mike Miguel, go ahead and unmute and ask your question. You there, Mike? How do you do the M dash on the keyboard? That is Shift Option minus sign.
Shift Option minus sign. That's what I was asking.
Yeah. So that's what it is for Mac, and I believe that's the same thing for PC. But just Google that M dash as an EM dash. How do I do it on my keyboard? And you can find that out. Okay, next question, Randy Ballard. Okay, Randy, go ahead and unmute and ask your question.
Well, actually, can you hear me okay?
Yep. You're good.
Actually, you kind of answered mine, but my business is not local. I do not have a storefront. Very, very seldom do people come to me. I sell on the internet and I ship products all over the country. In fact, I've had people ask me if I could ship to Australia and other places, which I haven't done that yet. So that's all I was asking. This is very important to me to try to get people to go to my website and look at what I do and all that kind of thing. So I really don't care much about local stuff. I'm interested in the national thing. So I'm not a big national company. I'm a very small company, but I'm not limited to a storefront. That's why I was asking.
So you're yeah. Okay, Randy. So yeah, you're a small company that sells nationally. So there may be some things that you want to do with your website to compete against a lot of these other companies out there. But when you are selling on a national level, it's very, very difficult to get optimized and to be found unless you're very narrow with your niche. If you have something that most people don't have, which, Randy, I know a little bit about your product, you do. You have something that's very nichey, and most likely that's the thing that'll carry you over in terms of being found. But there's a lot of other things that you can do, and if you want to sign up for one of my SEO audit calls, we'd probably need to take a little bit deeper dive on that. So,
okay, thank you. That does answer. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, Michelle, you're up. Go ahead. You have a question, Michelle? Okay. Oh, she wanted to know if we did all these things for her website, and yeah, answer's yes. Okay. All right. Risha, are you there? Well, slides will be available. Okay. I'll just read it. So actually, we're recording this whole thing. So we're going to post on YouTube. Okay. All right. Okay, great. All right, so let's move on to the next thing here. Okay, 3, header tags. Okay, these are header tags. This is the actual HTML coding. You have an H1, you have minus sign or less sign, greater sign, then you have it, less sign, backslash H1. And whatever your heading is, that's the text that you put in there. That's how it looks in the HTML. The reason headings are important, it's like no different than it is in a newspaper. Every newspaper article that you see actually has a header, it has a title on what the article is about. This is the next piece. After Google looks at the title tag and looks at the meta description on a website, then it goes through your entire website looking at headers. And so the idea is that your H1 header is the most important information about that particular page. Usually you only have one header per page, one H1 per page. Then you can have subtopics, subheaders, and you can go to H2, H3, H4. You can go all the way down to H6, but generally speaking, the most impactful are going to be the H1s. You can probably have a couple of H2s, but don't feel like you got to go through all your website and code it all with H1s, H2s, H3s. And most of the time it's very simple. You can go into your text. They usually within the text module, they'll have a button you can click on where you can add the H1, H2, H3. Okay. Any questions on that? I'm going to cover that pretty quickly, but there's not a whole lot to it other than the fact that headers are really, really, really important. Okay. So if you have a question on that or you think of one, just go ahead. And if you have prior questions on some of this stuff, just go ahead. We'll let you ask your question. We'll revisit it. So we're going to, number 4 is content. Okay. Here's a page of a bunch of different content. So when we're talking about content, we're not talking about just the words. We're talking about images. Images as well are considered content. All right. All right, we're going to look at a website by Milton Frank. Let's see, let's find them here. They are, there they are. Okay, we don't have anything to do with this website. Let me just say that up front. But I want to show you the website because this is one of the best websites I've ever seen that has a good amount of content. This website, and we do this quite often, we'll go through a website and we'll actually literally count all the words. We have a tool where we go in there and we count words on a website. This website has 30,000 words. Now to put that in perspective, I just finished writing a book last year. It has 60,000 words in it, and that's considered a light book. Most books, they want to be in the self-help marketing range. They want it to be at around 90,000 words. This has half as many words on their website as I have in my book. The reason they're able to do that is because each one of these things, they're talking about backflow prevention, bathroom plumbing, anything that can happen in plumbing, they've got a page on it and they're talking about it. And these guys are very well optimized because they are considered the authority because they have so much information about what it is that they do. You go to heating, you go to air conditioning, you can see tons and tons of information on this website, okay? Notice on their homepage, they don't have too much information on there. And that's a good thing because we don't want to overwhelm consumers with all of this information. But then as consumers can dig in, they can go in and dig deeper. Good example of this is Flooring Nerd. Another website that we did. You got content right here is step 1, step 2, step 3. That's actually where the most amount of content is. Got some pictures, some links to each of those things right there. A little bit of content right there. And that's it. That is it. But now if you go in there, you can see that not only do they have all these different pages that have content, there's 3 pages to each one of these items. So in carpet, we're also going to talk about carpet care maintenance and carpet installation. You click on these pages, you can see there's quite a bit of content. Okay. So that's real important. So questions on content, because that's always something that's always, you know, how many words per page, or when is too much, you know, any kind of questions like that as far as content. The thing I will tell you in regards to content is you're never going to put too many words on a website. That is what Google wants. Now, you have to balance it to what the consumer is going to see. You don't necessarily want to put so much content on there that you overwhelm the consumer. That's why on a home page, you want to actually keep it fairly light. What I'm doing is I'm pulling up another website that we built, okay? Content, this is a general contractor, but if you go in here and you actually look at their services, even though it's mainly pictures driven, there's still quite a bit of content on the page, but you can't see it. You only can see it when you click on it. As consumers get more and more interested in your products and services, they will dig deeper and deeper into the website. But initially, you don't want to overwhelm them. You don't want to tell them everything that you do initially. You want to keep it pretty light. You want to keep it pretty clean on the homepage. And you definitely want to try to get them to give up their information about them, so you can reach out and contact them and set up an appointment. Okay. All right. Number 5, image optimization. Okay. That's what takes place with image optimization. I get it. And I understand this well. We want every website to look absolutely beautiful. But the problem is if your images are too high res, it's going to slow down the website, and it's going to slow it down quite a bit, and Google's going to start penalizing you for a slow website. Google wants the internet to be robust, fast, edgy, very millennial-like, if we could use that term. And images, as great as they are, you load up your website with images, as many as you can get up there. They just have to be optimized to where they're not above generally 400 to 600 kilobytes in size. Okay, that's probably about a $400 to $500 kilobyte size. These right here are a lot less than that, but that is not really high res. You can see that right here. But any images that you download from the internet, a lot of times, especially when you go into catalogs, and we use catalogs all the time, and I'll show you one of the ones that is the best one out there, just really affordable. It's Deposit Photos. We pull tons of images off of this catalog. And if I go into this image, this is an image that I just downloaded just a couple days ago. It might even been yesterday. I'm downloading that image. If you can see down here, that image is 10.1 megabytes. It's huge. We could blow that up and make a poster of it, and it would look really good, okay? But that is not going to work on a website. I mean, you could put it on a website, but it's going to blow your website out. And it's probably the most common issue that I see in people's websites is they have images that are way too big. So once again, this is Mac. So for Mac, it's real simple. All I do is I go into adjust size, right? 10.6 megabytes. I adjust it by the width. I take it down to 3. I hit OK. Now it's going to look really tiny, but that'll actually go into the website. It'll still look really good, but it's not going to overwhelm the website. When pictures and images have too much resolution to them, and they're too big in their format, it gums up the website. We've all seen it. We go to a website and you see the website image starting to populate. It just kind of goes down. That's what ends up happening. Okay. There's some good solutions. You can do what I just did, or there's some plugins that you can do where automatically it goes through and looks at all your different images and it optimizes them and it downgrades them, just like you saw what I did. Dumbs them down. Okay. Any questions on that? Yes, Mike's asking, are these things that you can do on your website? Absolutely, especially if you're in WordPress. WordPress has an amazing amount of plugins. Back in the day, back in like 2008, 2009, building a website could be as much as $7,000, $10,000, $15,000, a lot of money. You can build that same website for probably and find some good people out there. We build them. There's a lot of other good people that build websites in WordPress, but can probably build what 10 years ago would cost $10,000, $15,000 for probably $3,000 or $4,000, because WordPress has all of this pre-made code already built. And that's what we know in the form of plugins and also what are referred to as builders within WordPress. So all of this can be done. Now, it's a little complicated, but you can learn it and you can go in there. I built my first website 10 years ago. I was totally ecstatic that someone actually was willing to take the risk on me and hire me. They paid me a big whopping, I think $450 to do like a 7-page website. And I was doing backflips. I was excited. And I built it, learned a lot. And so anybody can do it, but really to get to the point where I was actually really good at building websites, it took me about 3 or 4 years, because there is a bit of a learning curve. And even more so, there's just so much there. I believe the number is over 54,000 plugins for WordPress. A plugin is a tool that you use. We talked about an SEO plugin. We just talked about an imaging plugin. There's plugins for your contact form. There's plugins to display content a certain way. I mean, it's just unlimited. So there's a lot there. It's very powerful, but it does take some time. Okay, so another question, what type of damage do multiple headers cause? I don't know if there's so much damage that you're going to have with multiple headers. It just, at one point or another, if you just get too many, Google's just going to kind of ignore them and kind of go through it and look at what the body of your content is. But there's really no need in what we've seen with the websites we've worked on, where you do much more than a H1 and an H2. You don't need to go down there unless, you just have, a situation where, the content just keeps getting, this is a variation of this, and it's a little bit more of this. And, and it doesn't, for most consumers right now, it's hard to read through a website like that. You don't want your website to look like an outline. And it will look like an outline if you stick with this structure, if you follow what I'm saying. You want it to be very robust. And so what you want to do is you want people to actually click and get deeper and deeper into the website, if that makes sense. All right, any other questions? So you're not using headers to adjust size rather than size attributes then, right? No, in fact, using headers is a great way to adjust your size, but you can actually go in there with the HTML and you can assign different sizing with the H1s that you're doing. So you can wrap this is what we're talking about when I say wrap. Your heading right here is wrapped with the coding. Well, there's additional coding that you can put on the outside or on the inside of this that delineates that this needs to be certain font size as well as a certain font in particular. You want to maybe not use an Arial or Helvetica. You want to use a different font. All of that can be in there. So, okay, so Keith is asking, so you're not using, okay, just size, okay, sure, style tag. All right, style tag. Yep, that's what they're called. All right. All right, any other questions? Okay, so here's where we're at. We covered title tags, meta descriptions, header tags, content, and image optimization. These are the top 5. If you have these done and done correctly on your website, 98% of us will be in a really good position when it comes to our SEO on our on-page SEO. There's, like I said, there's just so many other things that you can do, but these give you the biggest bang for the buck, okay? Let me finish up with this, and then we're gonna go to break here. I'm a bit of a science geek. I watch a lot of these YouTube videos, even science shows. There's this big issue with quantum mechanics versus general relativity. Quantum mechanics is the science of how little things work. We're talking about atoms, we're talking about quarks, electrons, protons, all the stuff that we learned in science class. General relativity is how planets revolve around suns, how gravity works. The problem that scientists have right now is they cannot figure out how to amend the two. There's no way. This is where we get into string theory, multiple universes, all of these crazy science fiction type stuff, because they cannot marry them. The reason I say that is because when we talk about SEO, what a company will do on a big level, Apple, Home Depots, these companies should not be what you're trying to do on a micro level. They don't mesh, generally speaking. Just from the basis of what the cost would be, you could take your website and you could put $50,000 into all of this crazy optimization, but it's not going to do any good because it still shows up on a local level, if that makes sense. And vice versa. You know, somebody may not put enough of the SEO in there. The problem with that is much of the time when an SEO person talking to you, they're talking to you about general relativity. They're talking about stuff that works on a large scale. They're talking to you, if you talk to an ad agency, they're talking to you about doing a Super Bowl commercial. Doesn't make sense for a local flooring guy or a local commercial cleaning guy or electricity and gas savings company to talk about doing stuff on a national level, because you're not going to generally do that. So just always understand that there's two different worlds. There's the world that big business functions in, and then there's the world that most of us exist in, where we need to make sure that we get the best bang for the buck. Okay, so any questions on that? Okay, all right, so two sites pretty much say the same thing. What's the edge? Like the previous person stated, they sell in all states. How do you create search results in other states? Well, so yeah, it's a real complicated question. And that's probably something that if you are selling on a national level, we're going to have to spend time to go in there and dig that deep. But when you are going in there and you marketing on a national level, it's a whole nother thing. So with that being said, we can't dig that deep for right now. All right, guys, let's go ahead and let's get back to it here. Okay. All right, so I've got John Stacy. He's actually a coach for us here at Pinpoint Marketing. And I just want to introduce him. He's going to do just a 5-minute thing here and talk a little bit about Apollo 13, which incidentally, I don't know if you guys have actually seen the movie. It's a really good movie. But when I went to go see it, I was a little lost because I hadn't seen the other 12 Apollo movies before it. So my cheap attempt at making a joke. But anyway, without any further ado, John Stacy, go ahead and take it away.
All right, I appreciate it. Thanks for the introduction, Andy. So he just brought up that we're going to be talking a little bit about Apollo 13. I think the exciting thing that's going on is recently we had the first manned rocket take off after about 10 years. It was extremely exciting to me, as well as millions of people that are watching this successful launch. And this was the first partnership that was with NASA and SpaceX and the Dragon capsule. And as I watched this take off, I really was thinking about the things that have happened in NASA in its long history. There's some pretty impressive things. But SpaceX and NASA are really the future. And I've always been interested in it. I wanted to spend a little bit of time today talking about Apollo 13, talking a little bit about the past, and quite frankly, how it relates to your business, or possibly does. Next slide. Next slide. So we're going to be talking from disaster to triumph, Apollo 13. As Andy mentioned, he watched the movie. I also watched the movie recently, and it brought back a lot of memories. Does anyone here remember this happening? I do. I remember watching and listening with the rest of the world. And one of the vivid memories that I had when it was Jim Lovell said, "Houston, we've had a problem." And this happened on the evening of April 13th of 1970. And the interesting fact is that the explosion, it happened on April 13th on Apollo 13. So I thought that was kind of interesting, just as a little bit of a fact. The next slide, really, if you look at Jim Lovell, I can't say his name, mission commander, Jimmy Swaggart, command module pilot, and Fred Haas, who's the lunar module pilot. Just kind of interesting facts. There's a question that always comes up that's really, who's the next slide, by the way? Who is Ken Mattingly? And when you look at Ken, he was actually on the initial group, and you see the initial picture there where he's in it, but he was diagnosed, or actually was replaced because he had been exposed to the measles. Just so you know, that was the third mission to land on the moon. And everybody thought this was just another routine mission, but something happened. Next slide. About 56 hours into the mission, an explosion happened aboard the spacecraft, and it plunged the crew into a fight for survival for the next several days. And again, some of you may have watched this live, some of you may have heard about it. The next slide. So within seconds of the explosion, systems started to fail. Failures cascaded throughout the capsule. And the NASA flight controller said it was a massive failure at one time, and it impacted virtually every life support system in the organization. It impacted the oxygen, electricity, and engines. Next slide. Millions of people around the world watched on TV as the spacecraft looped around the moon. It used its gravity to return to Earth. Some say the failure happened at the best time that it could have happened because they had enough time to get back, but they were able to use the moon to really loop around and come back. And when it comes down to it, they were able to correct enough of the issues, focus and solve the problem. That's an important thing, that they were able to, as a team, focus and solve the problem until the capsule splashed down in the Pacific Ocean near Tonga. Next. So during this time, it was all about working together. NASA worked with the astronauts, the engineers there, to find out a way they could make it back to the Earth. And they can only do it using the supplies that were in the capsule that were on board the spacecraft. It was an amazing exercise in all the team working together to achieve one goal. They had multiple problems to fix, all of which, if not fixed properly, would cause the death of the 3 astronauts. This was an amazing real-life drama that, again, millions of people watched. Next slide. In the article headed Apollo 13 from Disaster to Triumph, a science reporter wrote, "Although the mission was not a success from a conventional perspective, it was a triumph of ingenuity and determination." Jim Lovell said, "It showed the people of the world that even if there was a great catastrophe, it could be turned into a success." Slide. So sometimes, do you feel like your business is a little like Apollo 13? Andy, in an earlier piece that talked about, showed a train wreck. Do you sometimes feel that everything is going wrong? Do you have multiple failures in your businesses? Challenges taking care of your customers, challenges with employees, how to deal with them. There's outside influence. Right now, we're dealing with COVID and a lot of other things. My question to you is, what have you done, or what are you doing within your organization when these things happen? Does all your team pull together to achieve the goals of the organization? And is there anything that you can learn from the failure and success of the Apollo 13 mission? The slide. Just to kind of wrap it up, what can we all learn from Apollo 13 that can be related to our business? And so There's probably some other things you all can think of, but it's about teamwork, and it's having the right culture, having the right mental attitude amongst your team, having a goal and a plan. Do you all have a goal and a plan? Execution of your plan, and being able to adapt as circumstances change. That adaptability is becoming more and more important as we've seen throughout the last 4 or 5 months. To me, it's all about people, and it's having about the right people doing the right thing at the right time. So my name's John Stacy with Catalyst Strategy Consulting. Also do business as AdvoCoach, and I'm going to have my contact information up there. But if you need some help or would just like someone to talk to, my contact information is there, and I appreciate the few minutes talking about Apollo 13 and how it relates to your business. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. So good things there. Let's not crash. Get through SEO. Good deal. Okay, so yeah, back to SEO. Okay, so the first part of this, we covered the on-page SEO. That was the title tags, the meta descriptions, header tags, website content, image optimization. Now, once again, bang for the buck. These are the most important things that you can do. This is something that needs to be done on every website, okay? There's more stuff. I mean, you can get inundated with all these different things that can be done, but most of the other things that can be done aren't going to give you a whole lot of bang for the buck, because what we're going to now transition to is talk about off-page SEO. And that's really where you should spend your time. Remember, and I'm going to go all the way back up here. When SEO started, it was technical SEO. That's the stuff that we just covered, about this list of stuff that has to be done. You check off the boxes, all these things for your website. In fact, it was so crazy that back in like 95, 96, if you had a website and say you were a flooring company, if you put in white text, we're the best flooring company, and you did that 100 times all the way down the page, if you typed in, didn't matter where you were in the country, I want to do business with the best flooring company, guess which website would show up? It would be the one that did that. So it was crazy. So what has happened over the years is Google is evolving and evolving to where this is where we need to be. Organic, content driven. And that's what we're really going to get into here now that we get into this piece. All right. Website content. So we talked about that, and really actually I should say it's content. Any content that's on the web is good content to have. Some content is better than other content, but whether you're on social media, you've got content up there about your business, your website, if you have multiple websites, your Google My Business page, any type of content is good to have on the web. People, if you just Google your business, you will see usually your website pop up.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Okay, I guess somebody wasn't hearing. So if you Google the name of your company, you not only should see your actual website show up, but you should see that if you have a Facebook page, you should see that show up. You should see that LinkedIn page. You should see everywhere that you have a presence that should be showing. And that's good. So more content they get out there, the bigger that you make your footprint on the web or your little web on the web, the easier it is for the consumer to find you. Okay. All right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Flooring Nerd. I showed you some stuff on the back end of their website where we went in there and we did the meta descriptions and the title tags. Flooring Nerd's a company that we've been working with for about 2 years now. When we started working with them, they were actually a different company. They were Floor Coverings International. In the process, they changed names. But what they were doing a couple of years ago is they were paying anywhere from $2,000 to $3,000 a month to Home Advisor to get business off of Home Advisor. And so as they were spending this money doing this, this was to generate leads. So those of you that know, if you go into Home Advisor's, Angie's List, there's a bunch of them, Porch, and you fill out your information, you're suddenly going to get phone calls. And I'm not talking about 1 or 2. I'm talking about like 50 phone calls in the next week. Because what Home Advisor does, and Angie's List, Porch, and all these other ones, is they collect information on consumers and they pass their information off to people that can sell you something as in flooring. And it's not that you're just getting 5, 6, 7, 8 people that are calling you about flooring. You're getting mortgage companies calling you about a home equity line of credit. You're also getting insurance companies calling you, wanting to know if they can insure do your home insurance. So what Home Advisor, Angie's List, Porch, all these, they refer to them as aggregators. What they're doing is they're selling leads, and they're selling your information, and they're selling your information to the most number of people. Because the more times that they sell your information, guess what? The more money that they make. Now, there's a problem with this. There's a problem because when you get 8 flooring companies calling the same person, that person's probably not going to book 8 appointments. And it gets very competitive. In fact, it gets very bloody because now you're trying to beat your competition, and it all becomes about price. And so those leads that they were developing off of what they were spending weren't very good. And if they did make some sales, they were having to be so competitive that they'd have to beat up their price to the point where it was very hard for them to be profitable. What took place is that we started doing a bunch of stuff. And one of those things was going in there and getting their website right. So when we rebuilt their website, we went in there and we went into this a little bit, wrong window here. We built a website that had all of these different pages. And we talked a little bit about this, that more content is better, okay? So there's a lot of information. I also showed you Milton Frank, great website, all right? We also go in there and we do content for them on their Google My Business page. Now, I'm going to kind of overlap on some of this stuff because I have a whole section about Google My Business. But this right here is all content where they have a little blurb about each of their products and or services. But if I open this up, you can get an idea. They have a tremendous amount of information right here, okay? All right. And the same thing down here. These are postings that we help them with. Now, these are things you guys can do yourself. If you have access to your Google My Business page, you can start posting content on your company. All right. What's happening with Google My Business is Google My Business standalone is becoming like a little miniature website. You have all this information. You've got online reviews. Here you go, 5.0 for 48 Google reviews. You've got pictures, and then you've got this section for products. And Google's releasing this in beta for a lot of industries, but eventually every business is going to be able to post what they do with their products, with their services. And then you can actually have a posting like you would have on Facebook or LinkedIn or social media posting. This is content that is very powerful. We get a report on a daily basis as far as how many views they get on the products, how many views they get on the postings, and it's more information that you can get out there. Now, anybody can have a Google My Business page. Anybody can qualify for that. But this right here, I will tell you, is as powerful as the Yellow Pages was back 20, 30 years ago. In fact, this is the Yellow Pages as far as what's happening on the internet. In fact, we advise our customers to spend more on their Google My Business page than on their website. And I know that sounds counterintuitive because up to now, it's all been about the website. Oh, I got to get my website. But what ends up happening here is when I go in there and I do a search, sorry, I'm fighting with the Zoom meeting header there. I type in wood flooring, the Woodlands. This is known as the 3-pack within Google Maps. They show up number 1. They show up number 1. And they have been showing up number 1 because of all the content that we're throwing up there. It's not because their website is the most optimized website in the universe. It's because of everything that's taking place on Google My Business here, okay? this is what you want to be on. If you have a cell phone and you type in restaurant, very quickly for most of us, near me is going to pop up. Everything is localized. And this is what we're using. We're not just using this to actually find products and services. We're using it to get directions to where as soon as we click the directions button, it's actually taking us to that business, or at least giving the directions so we can drive to that business. Very, very powerful. This is the content that we need to focus on, is to get as much content as we possibly can, not only on your website, but everywhere else on the internet. Okay, so let me pull up. Okay, all right, any questions on this? Okay, because we're actually, you know, I'm just kind of laying the groundwork here for Google My Business, online reviews. You saw the 5 items that we're going to cover: website content, posts, blogs, social media, Google My Business, and online reviews. And this is where you get the best bang for the buck. All right, posts and blogs. All right, posts are big, blogs are big. The more information that you can get on the internet, these are posts, some call them blogs, but the more information that you get on there on your Google My Business page, the better off you are. Same thing when we go to Facebook. This is Cook Insurance. This is one of our other clients that we have. They're actual business to business, but we go in there on a daily basis and we help them post an actual blog on their business. We put really nice images up. There's a bunch of content in there, and they get a certain number of views. What's interesting, and we're going to talk a little bit more in depth on social media, it has a great impact as far as you staying active, even though you may not have thousands and thousands of people coming to your site. Most of us that are in business don't necessarily have thousands and thousands of people coming to our social media sites. And the reason why is because most of us don't have a type of platform where customers are always want to engage. If you're a restaurant, if you're a beautician, if you're one of those kind of consumable products that everybody wants to talk about, then that would be the case. But they're good payoffs on that. This is a client that we have called NanoSeal. They are both business to consumer, but they're also business to business. They sell their product to not only consumers, but their main business is going out there and finding new distributors. That's why they have this whole section right here, okay? These are blogs, old-fashioned blogs. A lot of people think that they're kind of falling out in style. It's more content. The more information that you have on here, in this blog, it allows them to share it on Twitter, on Facebook. The more easier it is for consumers to find you. Keep putting blogs up. Very important, one part of the equation. Okay. That's what we showed you in regards to that. So any questions on this? About blogs, about postings? Okay. Social media. The 2 biggies are Facebook and LinkedIn. All right. So I showed you some blogs there for Cook Insurance on Facebook. It's a good amount of information. One of the things that we need to start thinking when we're getting all of this content out there in all these different places is the concept of repurposing. It's really good. It's really important. Not all of your content, as you put it into different places, has to be completely unique. With your website, it's a little bit different. You don't want to keep posting the same information on your website over and over and over again. You will get penalized. You certainly don't want to go in there and find a competitor, grab his content and copy it and paste it onto your website. That will get you in trouble. But when we're talking about social media, we're talking about posts, and we're talking about putting content up in other places other than your website, definitely repurpose. And so repurposing meaning that I can take the same amount of content here and I can take that and I can put that up on my Google My Business page. I can put it up here. All right. That is powerful. Google does not go in, as far as we know today, okay? They do not go into social media sites like Facebook or LinkedIn and look at the content and take a look at it. All they see is they see activity. And what they want to see too are links going from your link, from your business, from your social media account back to your website. They want to see movement. So those are great things. So things need to be set up to where it helps you get people moving from one platform to the next platform. And it's easily to do that. Most of that's kind of just intuitively set up on the social media platforms. Okay, LinkedIn, another great one. That's really business to business. I will tell you, these are about the only two, unless you have something that's incredibly niche-y, where it's a big thing. Remember how big MySpace was for bands 15 years ago, 20 years ago? If you were a band, an independent band that didn't have a label, you had to be on MySpace. Then it morphed and it became something else. But for most of us, these are the two that we should pay attention to. If you're all business to consumer, focus on Facebook. If you're B2B, focus on LinkedIn and also focus on Facebook. Facebook is still a very good business model or a social media platform for businesses to actually market to other businesses. In fact, a few of you on this SEO Bootcamp found us through Facebook because we did some ads on Facebook that went into the audience. When you do an ad with Facebook, you actually describe and define your audience, and that audience was business page administrators, meaning that they would be ones that would see the ad. Very powerful platforms, and I know of people that generate all of their customers off of social media, and it can be a very powerful thing. Most of us aren't necessarily going to bring in tons of business, but the one thing I'll tell you is that if you are in business, and it was like 2008, people felt this way. If you didn't have a website, how legit are you? They ask that. Same thing with social media. If you're not kind of somewhat active, they want to know that maybe you're not that all big or attentive to your business. Now there's some companies, we've worked with them, especially with companies that do a lot of government work. You shouldn't be on Facebook. Financial advisors, they cannot do a whole lot of stuff on social media. In fact, they can't even get their customers to post reviews about them. So it's a lot of it's regulated. So, okay, question here. Use video, what is best? Talk about the value of YouTube. Yes, YouTube is huge. Right now, YouTube is one of the best pieces to use to get there, to grab customers and to put them on there. So if I'm going to go in here, you know what, I'm not even going to be able to get to my YouTube channel. YouTube allows you, because I have to log in separate from my consumer page, and it's very difficult with Google. But let me tell you, as far as YouTube is concerned, YouTube allows you to put up to 5,000 characters in the description for your video that you post. Now you can take that video, you can grab a link and put it into your website. You can put it on social media. You can put it into an email. That 5,000 characters allows you to put into description. Google does not have the ability to look at your video and from that video get an idea of what it is that you really do. They just can't do that. They don't have the technology, at least today they don't. As AI develops, maybe one point down the road, they will. But for now, you can put a 5,000 character description into that. So we've done some work over the years for a guy called, his name is Armando Montalongo. He used to have a TV show called Flip This House. So he has a real estate company where he goes in there and he sells a training to his people that like him on Facebook. He does a lot of advertising. And so he does a lot of video stuff. So for a while, we were doing a bunch of video work with him. And the video work we were doing was actually just building descriptions on his video and getting them up on YouTube. Because he would do like a 30-second video where you probably don't have a whole lot of content on that 30-second video. But we were figuring out how to get 5,000 characters of information in that 30-second video. So he'd talk about maybe some concept about Think and Grow Rich. It's an entrepreneur book. And so he talked about that concept. So we'd find more information about that concept up on the internet, and then we would grab that content, rework it, rewrite it, and then we would enter it in. So you can even have a 30-second piece of video, which is, there's probably not even nearly 5,000 characters in there, but you can expand what that concept's about and you can put it in there. More is better when it comes to descriptions. We talked about that in title tags and meta descriptions. Title tags allow you 60 characters. Meta descriptions allow you 160. YouTube allows you a full 5,000. So very powerful. And most of us at this point are more naturally geared towards watching a video. This is going to be a video that we're putting together, and we'll probably have people that'll see it. They'll say, wow, that was great. You know, can you get us some more information? So video is powerful. Okay. Any other questions? Good question, John. And good point. Okay. All right. All right. This came pretty quick, but let's go ahead and let's take our next 15-minute break, and then we'll jump back on here at 12 o'clock. All right. Okay. All right, guys. We'll just go ahead and let's get started here. So let me just cover this question here. Mike, Mike Mogel asked, and I kind of answered it in the text, but I think let me expand on it just a little bit. You put together a video, and a couple things on video. When I started in this industry, I had a very expensive video camera equipment. I mean, I still have a lot of equipment to this day, but not that same equipment. I mean, I had like a $4,000 commercial grade video camera. Now I just use a DSLR camera, which does it just as good, if not better job, and a lot less money too. But we produced just these amazing videos, commercial-like, and it was just amazing stuff. And the reality is now is so much of this to this day is the best video out there is the stuff that's a little bit more organic. It's the stuff where people are talking really passionately, and it doesn't need to be professionally polished and this great stuff. And so the one thing I will tell you though is audio has to be good. Nobody wants to watch a video where there's all sorts of crazy stuff going on in the audio, screeching, if you're talking too loud. It's just, nobody wants that. So, and then nobody wants to sound like you're, in the bathroom, echoing and stuff like that. And that's what I tell people to invest in. So you can produce tons of video. In fact, my company, that's like the one thing I don't do anymore, is I don't do video. I think it's such a great, when I say I don't do video, we don't do it for our customers, because I tell them, do it yourself organically. It looks good. Even if you're like, driving along in the car, hold it up, use your headset, because it's got a pretty decent microphone, but, talk right into it, do a video, post it on social media. Everybody wants something that looks a little bit more organic. If it's really highly produced and polished, it kind of has less credence at this point. So that's kind of where video is gone. So hopefully that helps. The piece that Mike was asking though, that doesn't even answer his question, but he was just asking, do the characters, does the content that you put in the description with YouTube, which is up to 5,000 characters, which put that in perspective, that's like 700 to 800 words. That's like a whole blog. Does that have anything to do with what the video is talking about, what the actual what's happening on the video? And the answer is no, it doesn't. I don't necessarily think that that's probably a good idea though. I mean, what your description in the YouTube video should be about what it is that you're talking about. but 99.9% of people out there don't even come close to maximizing that out. And I get it. 5,000 characters, 800 words is a lot of content. It is. But when you're able to do that, it makes it very, very, very easy for Google to index you on that video. So when people go in, they can Google from just a regular search page on Google, or they go to YouTube and they start clicking in, you know, what it is that they're looking for. If you have that in part of your description, your video, it's got a good chance of showing up. So hopefully that answers the question and gives you also some good insight on video and how to do it and when to do it. Just remember, get a good mic. That's the camera. Today's phones are great. You don't need to go out there. You don't need a DSLR. I have it because we produce a lot for our company and what we do, and it's easy to edit using it, much so more so than cell phones. But if you're just taking it and you're going to post it, you're not going to do a lot of post-production. That is the best way to do, is just use your cell phone, because the cameras are so good on those. So with that being said, let's talk about Google My Business. So, all right, Yellow Pages. And I inferred in this just in the last bit that we're talking about. Google My Business is everything that the Yellow Pages used to be 30 years ago. Yellow Pages is really not in business anymore. In fact, my wife's uncle had a Yellow Page business, made millions of dollars, did really well, and he just packed it up. I think it was like 2 years ago. He couldn't even sell the thing, because who's going to buy a Yellow Pages company? He had these local, regional, you know, kind of like this. You see the Boston thing? He would have those type of phone, you know, Yellow Page company. But Yellow Pages at one day was extraordinarily, phenomenally profitable, especially if you could get your ad down just right. Okay. What's happening now, though, it's not that particular way of advertising and marketing has just gone away with. It hasn't. I mean, you can do obviously a lot of pay-per-click on the internet. There's other things, but the biggest bang for the buck on the internet right now is Google My Business. And I say that because if you've got X number of dollars to spend and you're going to hire a company like mine, or you're going to hire your cousin's best friend's dog's teacher that knows how to write good content, spend 70% of your money on populating Google My Business and spend 30% of it on your website. Okay. That's how powerful Google My Business is. Everywhere you can put information, everywhere you can post, do that. We do postings once a day, but you can go in there and you can put them up every single day of the week. I mean, you can do multiple ones for every day of the week. I mean, you can just keep adding and adding and adding content. And as Google continues to expand their monopoly, I mean, that's really what it is. I mean, very few of us go to Bing or Yahoo or you know, some of these other more remote search engines. They are making this more and more available, more and more features available to businesses so that you can keep populating more and more information. Here you've got business hours. Most of you guys know this, so I don't want to do too much of a deep dive on every little thing here. But let me talk about your address and a couple really key things. And we're talking like key things that will make the difference of whether you get a ton of phone calls off of your Google business page or get like zero. And that has to do with the address. The address on your Google My Business page cannot be a PO box, can't be a mailbox and etc. address. That does not work. Google has all of those addresses flagged. You cannot do that. You can you're better to use your home address, but a lot of people don't want our customers or just the public in general to know where we live, you know. And if you're one of those people, then you need to have a business address. And if you don't have an actual physical brick and mortar office, what do? So here's the solution. You need to get a virtual office. Regis is one place you can go to. Work Lodge, there's all these places out there where you can come in and you can pay so much X number of dollars to be able to get your mail delivered there. Because here's what happens. As soon as you claim your Google My Business page, or you go in and you start one new, they mail you a postcard with a digit code to verify that you are who you say you are, okay? This is huge. We were working with a company last year that did audio visual equipment, going to people's homes, do these beautiful home theater systems. And he had his home residential address up there, and he's out of Conroe. And I told him, I said, look, you need to get away from that, just from your personal address, issues with that, to mention that there's a lot better way of getting business in, because he wanted to do a lot of systems in the Woodlands where there was a lot of money. Obviously, there's a lot of money in Colorado as well. But I told him, I said, you want to be more geographically central, because anything that comes up in a Woodlands, the Woodlands search is probably going to pour over into Conroe. Not necessarily the case that if you're located in Conroe, is it going to necessarily pour into the Woodlands, okay? So I said, go to one of these places where you can get a virtual office, or actually just get your mail sent there and get set up. He did it. They mailed the postcard. It's a process. It took him a couple, 2-3 weeks. In the subsequent months after doing that, he started giving phone calls that he had never gotten before. He started getting people calling him about, hey, I've got my house. It's in the Woodlands. It's on the lake. I've only got $35,000 budgeted on a home theater system. Is that something you can help me out with? Those type of calls. And many, many times he told me, he says, Andy, that is like the best marketing advice you've ever given to anybody, is for me to get that address. Because what ends up happening now is Google wasn't penalizing him that he was working from his home. Potentially, they can do that. They weren't penalizing him because he was in a mailbox and et cetera, or a PO box situation. They actually viewed him as a legit business. So you have to go out there. Look, it's $30-$40 a month. It sucks. We want to, but the reality is, especially if you're business to consumer, you definitely want to get in there to where you have an actual literal business address. So I'm seeing some things come over here. So maybe we got some questions here. Mike asking about registering with the post office. Well, hang on, let me go up here. Okay. I've tried to claim my business, but I never received the postcard they send with the verification. How can I claim it in other ways? There is no other way to claim it other than that postcard, unless Google's changed something as of recently. It's a real pain in the butt, but you got to do it through that. Look, mail gets lost. My office where I sit, I don't know why, but the mailman here just does not like delivering mail. I mean, I've had at least a half dozen clients mail us checks and they never arrive. And I believe that they said that they mailed them. I don't think they're lying about it. But that's why having one of these places like a Regis or a Work Lodge or some of these other ones, We Work, where you pay for that fee, the mail will show up there, hopefully. But if you don't get the postcard within a week or two, you need to go in there and resubmit for them to send you another postcard. And it's sometimes we've had customers, it takes a month or two just to verify. It's a pain in the butt, but it is one of the most powerful things to do is to get this Google My Business piece in place. Okay. Mike Mogel, are you registered in the post office before it will work? No, there's no registering with the post office. You don't want to have anything to do actually with the post office. No PO box, at least for that matter. You need that postcard to actually go to the address of where you're saying you are conducting business out of. Okay, that has to happen. Okay. What was the name of the companies, the virtual offices, Regis? Just look up virtual office, Google it, close to you, and you'll see there's a ton of them. They're all over the place. Cubics, co-work, that would work. That's a great one. In fact, John Garrett's on the line. John, I am sorry. I should be promoting Cubics all the way through. Apologize. But that's another great place where you can get this. Executive Suites, yeah, all those places. There are a million of them out there. And understand, they're not going away. Because especially with what's happening with COVID-19, more and more people are working from home or working remotely, and also maybe just have an office. A lot of these places got really good deals that if you have a good client that you want to meet with face-to-face, you invite them to the office, you can rent one of the conference rooms. It's a great situation. So, okay, cool. So any other questions about Google My Business? There's other pieces that we're going to attack on this, but it is so powerful. Like I said, and I mean this through and through, if you have a budget for your online presence and it's a choice between your Google My Business and your website, spend 70% of your marketing dollars on Google My Business and 30% on your website. It's that powerful. Okay, tracking phone numbers. Here's how I know this works, okay? So we're gonna go back over here. We're gonna look at Flooring Nerd. Now, if you guys notice, on their phone number here, it ends in a 7606. If I go to their website, the phone number ends 8254. Their wrap on their vehicle is a different phone number. On their social media, it's a different phone number. The emails that they send out to realtors, because they try to get referrals from realtors, that's a really good referral source. That's a different phone number. Every piece of their marketing has a different phone number. The reason you want to do this, these days of having a vanity number and people can remember, nobody's hand dialing you. They're basically clicking a link. That's how most of us call, most people. We don't dial in the number, or we have the phone number saved in the phone, right? CallRail, great company, does a great job with this. These are the customers that we manage. You can see Flooring Nerd, Google My Business, Quick Insurance, Flooring Nerd, and you'll see it starts to mix up on different avenues and depending on where they call. Most of it you can see is Google My Business. We know where people are calling. How many calls come? That's Flooring Nerd vehicle wrap. GMB, that's Google My Business Montalongo building. That is the building I'm currently sitting in. I do the marketing for this 69,000 square foot building. John Garrett on the line. He actually does the real estate piece. So if you guys need a good office, get with John Garrett. He'll help you. So a little plug there for John. I owe him since I was talking about all these other places. So this tells us exactly who's calling and where they're calling from. Flooring Nerd doesn't really get a whole lot of phone calls off of their website. They'd love to get more phone calls. You know, everybody wants phone calls off of your website, but if you're getting 5 times the amount of phone calls off of your Google My Business page, where do you think the effort should be? It should be on Google My Business. But this is a powerful piece. The reason it's so powerful and it's so important, and you know, and I go way back up here, okay? This guy right here, this is the guy you want to avoid. There's so many guys out there trying to sell you pay-per-click, trying to sell you services for Google My Business. Most of the time what they will do, and they do this specifically and strategically, is they will put the same phone number on every single thing because they want to obfuscate where the results are coming in from. They don't want you to know that you're spending all this money on Google My Business or pay-per-click and that the leads aren't specifically coming from there. They don't want you to know if it's coming from the website. They want a package deal. They want to start charging you $700, $1,000, $1,500 a month. We're going to do all this crazy stuff. You're going to get all these phone calls, and you'll get some phone calls because they are doing some work, right? But you won't know exactly where they're coming from. If that $1,500 a month that you're spending, if 700 of it is going to pay-per-click and you're not getting any clicks, you're not getting any phone calls, you are pissing that money away. And so you need to have an actual tracking phone number to that. So these tracking numbers, they go up and they directly link to your cell phone or the phone number that you want it to go to. It's completely seamless. No one's going to know that that is a different number. Okay. All right, so let's go back down here. It's important that you have those segmented out. You know, you go into a restaurant and they say, well, look, if you go ahead and you do this table tent, you do this little ad, we'll charge you $650 for the year. If you want to know that if that thing actually works, then slap on a tracking number. Okay. Then once you have it on there, then you can tell them after a year. So yeah, you had me paid $650, but I didn't get a single phone call. Despite what you think, it's not worth it. Okay. All right. Questions. Okay. When I add content to my Google My Business page, can I then copy it to my website? No, I wouldn't do that. And the reason I say that, I mean, the websites are touchy. And the reason they're touchy is because Google is always going out there and they're trying to make sure that it is unique content. And there's just so many people out there that plagiarize. There's website guys out there, they'll build you a website. You have no idea where your content's coming from. That's if you have them build the content. And most of the time what they're doing is they're just grabbing content from other companies. Meaning literally they're going to go into California and find a company that does the same exact thing, grab their content, and then throw it on there. Usually you can figure it out because you take 2-3 sentences of the content, you put it into the search bar of a Google search and you Google it, and that website will come up. And if you do that, you'll get penalized. Okay. So the one thing I tell people is do not do duplicate content on your website. You can put it on Google My Business. You can put it on Facebook. You can put it on YouTube. You'll never get penalized for that. Okay. All right. John Garrett does the same thing for URLs that CallRail does for phone numbers. Yeah, with Bitly, yeah, that's a good way. That's a good thing too, is you can track on your digital assets on the different sites. You can put them up there. You can see how many people are clicking through, and you can pull your analytics. Very much so. Most of us know about that. You know, I don't really cover a whole lot of that. Tracking numbers, I cannot tell you how many clients I've sat down. We just had one a couple weeks ago. Guys sit down, they start telling me how much they know about marketing, and they just, you know, that they're brilliant, but they're not really making money right now, but we really know a lot about marketing. And I start talking about tracking phone numbers, and then suddenly they think I'm talking about telemarketing. And I'm like, yeah, I don't think you really know as much as you think you know. I mean, I didn't say that, but most people, the call tracking phone number thing is relatively new. Most people don't know about that. Most marketing guys aren't going to tell you about that. And the reason they're not, because they don't want to be held accountable, obviously. They want to package it all together, and suddenly you've got more results, and they want to make it so, well, we don't know exactly where it's coming from, but trust me, if you stop spending $1,500 a month, your business is going to go under. That's usually the play. Okay. All right, guys. Online reviews. This one is absolutely huge. And I think most of us understand this, you know, very intuitively, how powerful online reviews are. You can post online reviews just about anywhere, and you should. Any place that you can get your customers to talk about what it is that you did for them, when it's positive, of course, you want that content up there. And it's a pretty simple question, but think about it for a second. What content is weighted heavier? The content you put up about yourself on your website, or what the consumer puts up about you? And the answer is the content that the consumer does. Online reviews are so powerful right now, and it will bring you more business. So here's some statistics on online reviews. Search engine optimization, SEO. 63% of consumers use a search engine like Google to find online reviews. 78% of US adults believe that it's very important to look up information about a business online before deciding to interact to do business with them. Okay? The person that has the most reviews with the best star rating is the person that usually wins the appointment and also usually wins the business. We go with people that have good reviews. So where do consumers look if they're not using a particular, if they're not using Google? When consumers want to know how good a business is at what they do, according to Bright Local, 63% of consumers use Google the business name to see the business name to see what is said about them. What about the remaining consumers? This 37%. 37% of consumers go directly to review sites and find and read online. So when I talk about Yelp, what do they call people? And just go ahead and put in the the chat box, what do they call people that use Yelp and only use Yelp? Anybody know? Okay. They call them Yelpers. Thank you, John Garrett. Exactly. You actually have a name for people that only go to that one thing. It's crazy. But people go directly to a review channel just to check out who you are and how good you are at what you do. All right. This is the social proof angle to reviews. 88% of consumers trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. Okay, and that's through search engine land. That's huge. If they see enough online reviews, they will trust you. 90% of consumers say buying decisions are influenced by online reviews. I would say that number is probably even higher. Okay. Online reviews are the third-party sale. Most of you on here know me through other situations, but I'm a big fan of BNI. We bring in a lot of business through BNI. BNI is a third-party sale. That's where John Garrett has the opportunity to refer me to somebody, and I already have instant credibility. It's the same thing in an online review. The nature of a third-party sale is so powerful. My customers can sell my services better than I can ever sell them. And even though I can articulate it better, I can talk about them more in depth, I have all the knowledge, of course, nothing can compare to the fact that if one of my past customers talks about what I've done for them and how I've made them more money, I can't trump that. And it's because there's there's a psychology that takes place. When someone refers somebody, we view them as a disinterested third party. That's what happens. There's more credibility behind it. What else am I going to say about my business other than say super positive things? I'm not going to tell you when I haven't succeeded. And I probably shouldn't. None of us should. You know, it's the reality that we say the most positive things about ourselves. And so so people are skeptical. So anyway, I don't need to spend a lot of time on that. Most of us get that. This is a client that we did reviews for, well, 2017. So, 3 years ago, right? Okay. Long review. What I want you to look at here is after seeing, this is way down here, after seeing Strictly Metal Roofing's sign, we went to the BBB website and read all the great 5-star reviews that they had and made us feel comfortable and confident in calling them. Okay. This is a review. They had a good experience with this company, but at the end of the review, they talk about where they found this company and that it was through the BBB and it was through the online reviews. So it's a review about the fact how reviews actually work, and very particularly how this company, they went with this company because of their online reviews. So powerful, very in-depth. There's a lot of detail, a lot of information on this review. So with that being said, let's talk about that. Let's look at some reviews. In fact, I'm going to mix this up here. I'm going to actually show Michelle Kelkoff. And Michelle, just yell at me if you don't want me to show you about your reviews.
Totally good with that.
Okay. All right. Computer wholesale.
Products.
Yeah, there we are. Okay, we got it. It showed up. All right. It's easier to navigate it. All right, like this. Okay, perfect. Okay, so here's her Google business page. We went on through the different things. Here she's got some good spots for products. She's doing a good job getting some stuff up there. Her reviews. Michelle has some good reviews. Okay.
And I'll point out too that when I get a new customer, I send them the link to this page and I ask them to write one if they're so inclined.
Right. And that's how we get in there, and that's how we start doing reviews. The thing I want to point out here is look at the length of the reviews. This is what you want to get, is you want to get reviews that have quite a bit of information and detail to it. The last thing that you want as a consumer is to have somebody go on there and put up a review and basically say, yeah, Michelle, great person, helped us get some office supplies, and afterwards we went out for a cocktail. Doesn't mean anything. You want reviews that are in depth, that have lots of detail. Those can be hard to get sometimes, but the more information, the more details, the more problems you solve for that customer, the better the review is. One of the things that I talk about my experience about working at Chili's when I was, living in my van down by the river. I had to go get a job. I went and got a job at Chili's, and I started to notice that the more somebody's meal got messed up, the more opportunity I got to get a better tip. In fact, to the extent, and I tell this one instance where I actually presented them their food, and this one customer ate like only 5 bites and ignored everything else on her plate. And I asked her, I said, well, what's wrong? Well, she didn't want to complain, because most of us don't want to complain at a restaurant because we're scared to death that the cook, it's going to be taken back, the cook's going to spit in it, and they're going to be brought out to us. It's not a good experience, certainly. But she wouldn't tell me, but I dug a little bit deeper and I said, look, just tell me what's wrong. And finally told me, I made it right. It was great. Brought the manager by. It was this whole experience of making their meal right. And their bill was $25 and they tipped me $20. So I made a lot of money. Usually you don't get a $20 tip on a $25 bill. So that was so effective that thereafter, every single night, at least 3 or 4 customers, I would screw up their plates. I'd make all sorts of mistakes just so I could make it up and get a better tip. That's not true. That's a joke. I never did that. But you get the point that if we start viewing, when we run into hiccups with our customers as an opportunity to make things right, that is even more of a powerful story than if everything went perfectly. And that's an opportunity for the customer to talk about that in the form of a review. This is the piece, and I have to jump back over here to Floor Coverings International and talk a little bit about them, talk about their reviews, because this is the piece right here that they contribute to getting the business that they get. I talked about them in the last hour about the fact that they were spending $2,000 to $3,000 a month with the aggregators, with Home Advisor, getting leads. They don't spend anything at this point on getting leads. They get tons of phone calls off of their reviews, and you can see the length of the reviews are just absolutely tremendous. They get people calling them up and saying, the reason we're calling you is because we read all the 5-star reviews. If you look at them in another flooring company, they have 48 reviews, 5 stars, and we're helping them get more and more of these. When they get to the point where they have 100 and it's a 5-star rating, game over. Nobody can compete with them. If the consumer can find them and find them online, they're going to win every single time. Now, this is a business consumer model, but business to business, it's the same thing. Once Michelle gets to the point where she's got like 100, 120 reviews, if the consumer can find her, they're going to go with her. If it's a decision of who we're going to reach out to online, that's who they're going to go to. The person that has the highest star rating and the most number of reviews wins and wins every time. That's why these are so powerful. So anyway, all right. Any questions on this? Okay, Yelper's question, what are the top 3 review sites to use? Without a doubt, Google My Business, Facebook, and then I would say Yelp. The difficulty with Yelp, and let me talk about Yelp because Yelp does not make it easy on you as a business owners. Yelp has been sued in the past, class action suits, big problems. Yelp will allow certain number of reviews to go up, and they will invariably pull a couple of reviews down. They're doing that because when you have a review that goes down and you've noticed that, you are now making a phone call to Yelp to talk to them and find out why. When that phone call takes place, it's their opportunity to start selling you on their $600 a month service, where it's going to get you all this business. Over the years, and this has been a consistent strategy that they've been doing for nearly 10 years. Over the years, I've only had one client tell me that it was worth paying the $600 a month because it got me more business. And I'm talking, we've talked to hundreds and hundreds of customers over the years. They're difficult. If you can get the reviews up there, that's great. I tell people only from the experience that our customers have had, that we've only had one person tell us that it was worth it. They're difficult. They've been sued over it. A lot of people call it extortion, and it may very well be the case, but Google My Business does not take down reviews, even though they want to sell you pay-per-click marketing. Facebook doesn't take down reviews, even though they want you to do Facebook ads, okay? But I tell people those are the top three. Behind that, you've got like Yellow Pages, you've got MapQuest, you got a bunch of stuff out there. I mean, they're all over the place. The other ones I would tell you specifically, if you're like a dentist, you want to get into the dentist industry specific review channels, because people will find you through that as well. Okay. All right. Question. Going back to the multiple phone numbers, what's the average cost of each of those numbers? If we have a VoIP, how do we set that up? There's no setup. It's just a call forwarding thing. So once you log into CallRail, they charge you, I believe it's $45 a month. You get 10 phone numbers. It's $4.50 per phone number. That's relatively very, very cost effective considering the value that you get out of it. But it's powerful to be able to track where you get the most number of calls. You can determine where you put the most amount of dollars. Okay. Yeah, LinkedIn was not on your online review slide. Do you think that it's also a good place? Yes, it is. It is. That's and you know, and I neglected to talk about that and say that, and I should say that LinkedIn is a great place to get recommendations. And the more information that you get on LinkedIn, the better it is. There are people that will find you solely through LinkedIn, especially the fact that it's business to business. There's really not business to consumer. And if you figured out a way to sell your product and your business to consumer, eventually it's not going to work for you. It really is business to business on there. And it is a good place, definitely, to have reviews up. Okay. Any other questions? Okay, let's take a look. We took a look. Okay. So, yep, I need to add LinkedIn. That's a good point. Consumer affairs. A lot of negative stuff goes up, but if you've got someone created an account and you can get positive reviews, that's good. TripAdvisor, obviously, when we're going to destinations, we want to know what to do in Pensacola, Florida. We're looking at TripAdvisors. Angie's List, Thumbtack, these are the aggregators that's telling you about. Even though you're not marketing or advertising with them, if you have an account with them, that's also a good place because people will see you on there. Bing, Glassdoor. Glassdoor right now is a place where employees can post a review about what it's like working at your organization. That's a good place to have reviews go up. It will help if you've got a company that you're hiring, you know, that's a good place to do that. Despite what people think about the Yellow Pages being completely dead, they're probably right in the physical, you know, format, but online it's very robust. And it's crazy to think this and to know this, but there are literally people that still shop on yellowpages.com. It's a great place to get reviews up and for people to see you. So are there ways to have reviews from one place show up on another? No. And you want to stay away from that, because the more stuff that you try to do like that, where you try to get your Yellow Page reviews up on Google or on Yelp, the more that you're going to get flagged for that. That's one piece that, and we've been doing online reviews and helping customers with that for years and years. You want to be careful about that. You know, just realize that there's a lot of stuff that a lot of people are doing to try to, to get through the fence, dig underneath, and you could get penalized for that. Reviews have to be posted by the consumer. Don't try to put up a bunch of reviews. Think, like we used to do on websites, right? All these testimonials on a website, you made them up, especially if you're a brand new business. You cannot do that on the review channels. They track IP addresses, and they also have very sophisticated systems on knowing whether or not you're putting up illegitimate reviews. Okay. All right. Any other questions? So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to grab that same link. I'm going to throw it up there. Let's see. Give me the right page here. If you would like an SEO audit, and I can go in more specific to your business, it's free. Not going to charge you anything. I mean, obviously, if there's some services that I can help you with, great, I'll do that. And I'll tell you what those are and what they cost. But, you know, we're looking to grow our business just like other businesses. We've got this guy, he's very excited about the fact that he can take his business to the next level. That's something we'd like to do for you guys as well. Obviously, if it's a good fit, we can do it. You've got the budget. We'll definitely help you, and we'll make you more money. It's what we do. But just click on that link. You can book yourself. It'll be 30 minutes. Let me just say in closing, we're going to kind of wrap this out unless there are any other questions here. But I started with the Mayflower, and I talked a little bit about it, and I compared it to the fact that opening up a business, starting a business is like leaving England and going over the whole ocean and coming to the New World. In fact, there were 3 different groups in the Mayflower. There were the religious seekers seeking religious freedom. There were the indentured servants, basically slaves. And then there are what they referred to as fortune seekers. And that's the terminology that they used back in that day in their journals. We know fortune seekers today as entrepreneurs. That's what entrepreneurs really are. We're seeking after a fortune. We're seeking out for financial freedom. Well, when they came here, just very early on, this is William Bradford, and he was, I believe, the 2nd governor of the Plymouth colony. As they came here, they were running into so many issues with how they were setting up their economy. Initially, they formed what is referred to as a communal, where everything that they did, every effort to grow vegetables or kill animals to eat, whatever they did, got grouped together, and then they would divide it amongst themselves. And it seemed like a really good thing, and that everybody was going to benefit from that because it's the group effort, right? Well, what they started to realize, and the winters were cold and all these problems were happening for them, is that half of all the colonists ended up dying. And what they were finding is that some people, even though this is back in the 1600s, and you know, surely in the 1600s there's a lot better work ethic back then than there is today. I mean, come on, that some people were lazy and didn't want to work. Other ones would work really hard. And the ones that would work really hard were getting frustrated with the ones who were lazy. So finally, William Bradford comes in and they start parceling up all the land and basically saying, look, you get to keep what you make. You get to keep the vegetables, you get to keep the animals, and it's up to you. You need to be self-sufficient. And once they started doing that, that's what we know as the Thanksgiving story, where they had the Indians and they had this bountiful, plentiful of goods. That did not take place until every person essentially became an entrepreneur. And that's my point, is that really being an entrepreneur is what it's all about. This is William Bradford's grave. On there, it's in Latin, you can't read it, but it says, what your fathers achieved with great difficulty, do not relinquish without a struggle. Maybe some pertinent concepts to that, especially with what we're seeing going on today. Correct processes and systems work. Incorrect ones will only lead to disaster. And I see that through and through. I see that not just in the SEO perspective, I see that in other marketing areas where we help people for sure. One thing I know, certain things work with SEO and some things don't. Some things change, but yet we have to find out, because when you do the right things, you get the right result. So with that being said, we're going to end it. We're definitely done before 1 o'clock. Like I said, I'll stick around. If you guys have questions, I'll stay on here as long as you all want me to, but thank you so much for coming. Thanks for the good questions you guys have. And I certainly hope, really do, that you got something out of this, because that's really what this is all about. I know what it's like being the entrepreneur, having a business. I've got my own. We all have our struggles, and we're just trying to make sure that it's not every day a train wreck. We're making money. So thank you. Appreciate it.